How good is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands? It's been out for a while, the infatuation phase is starting to wane, and we're really starting to understand the game on a molecular level. I've been playing for so long now that I have a feel for it, and I'm now trying to categorize this game. We all know it's better than Borderlands 3, that's a given. But just how good is it? Well, that's the very question I'm going to solve today in this video. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lost in Dead Space, and it's been a while since I made a video like this. And I gotta say, that time off was well needed. I still got a whole bunch of stuff going on in my personal life. We're about to move in the next week or so stresses are very high. But luckily I finished Elden Ring and I have enough time to finish a video too, this being one of them, before we move. And as you can tell, I've already packed up my camera and stuff, so this is going to be a face camless video. But that's enough about my personal life. Today we're here to talk about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and just how good it is. Is it worth buying? Is it better than what people are saying? Or is it much worse? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. To break down this topic, we're going to divide this video into 3 sections: story, gameplay, and in-game. After I discuss each section, I will rate each one 1 through 10 and categorize the game as a whole at the end of the video. So let's start with the story. The story is fantastic, but it's something you have to be in the mood for. If you just had a long day of work or stressful evening and you turn on Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, there's a good chance you're not going to be in the mood for this type of bullshit that the game dishes out. But if you wait for a good weekend where you have nothing to do with a fresh mind, this game is absolutely enjoyable. And it will have you laughing out loud on multiple different occasions. Will Arnett is a fantastic villain, second only to Handsome Jack himself, which is really not saying much because most of the villains in these Borderlands games are kind of lackluster, but still, Will Arnett absolutely crushes his role. Everyone's sarcastic, off-the-wall attitude throughout the entire game really just incorporates that parody feeling. And it is a parody of D&D. But it's so much more than just that. They turned this insert dick joke here comedy into an art form, and it really feels that way. The more and more you play, the more and more blown away you get when you realize just how far they take this crazed fever dream. And as for replayability, the story seems like it would be a lot less tedious and irritating than previous releases like Borderlands 3 and the pre-sequel were. If you're looking for a serious game with very dramatic story, this isn't the game for you. But if you're looking for a game that embodies popping acid and jumping out of an airplane, this is the game for you. I couldn't even imagine playing this game high, but if I did, I'm sure it'd be even better than it already is. When it comes to that first playthrough, there's really nothing like this. You got instances of Attack on Dragon's Keep DLC and the Krieg DLC from Borderlands 3, but like I said, this game is a parody upon itself, which is also a parody upon D&D, and it's a very unique experience that you won't get anywhere else. When you factor in that this is how the game was developed, I give the story a 7 out of 10. It's not perfect, there's some less favorable parts of the story, but for the most part the game is very lighthearted and a blast to play. I'd say if you're just here for that first playthrough, play for only about 4 hours at a time because there's only so much that your brain can handle before you kind of get desensitized by the dumb acidity that happens around you. All that being said, it is a lot better than it is bad, a nice step up from the shit stain that was Borderlands 3. Oh, and PS, no Ava. So thank God for that. Anyways, moving on from that, when it comes to gameplay, the game plays a lot better than the previous release. The new spell edition is welcoming and certified fresh. They are very similar to the grenade mods in Borderlands 2, but just a lot better. Most spells are not very great, but you will absolutely find some completely broken spells that will just one-shot almost anything, and it feels really good. I miss having overpowered equipment in these games. Borderlands 3 nerfed everything into a balance that made it so boring to play, and it's nice to see that there's a lot of things in this game that make you feel strong. I will, however, say one downfall to this game, and it was also an issue with the third game, is that you really don't find good enough equipment to feel strong and powerful until you reach a later level, like 20 plus. There's nothing worse than having crap loot in these games, and unless you get extremely lucky or you look up videos on how to farm strong equipment early on, for these first 20 levels you will feel like an insignificant little bitch with a bunch of pea shooters, and it makes the game feel, well, tedious and unsatisfying to play. But fortunately, that goes away the second you get some good equipment, and once you do, it becomes the complete opposite. And this is more of a problem with the new loot system than it is with the game itself, because Borderlands 3 also had this issue. In Borderlands 1 and 2, you could just find some normal rarity weapons and they can just shred. And unfortunately, in these newer games, you don't really find a gun that's worth a crap unless it has some red text or it exploits a broken mechanic. Much less so in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands than it was with the third game, but it is still an issue. I will, however, say I love the quest rewards and all the rarity weapons. They're very powerful and they're very fun to use. And luckily, I don't think they're going to nerf everything like they did with the third game, so my advice would be look up a tutorial on how to get some really good equipment early on, and you will have a blast all the way through. And quickly going over the customization in this game, it's fantastic. I love the added ability to completely recustomize your face and equipment whenever you feel like it. And also the D&D style level up system mixed in with the Borderlands-y tree skill level up system. It feels very rewarding. Not to mention that you can mix mash your character builds and come up with super sophisticated ways to be extremely overpowered. And this adds a lot to the replayability, so that is a double thumbs up from me. All of this considered, I would rate the gameplay a 7.5 out of 10. If they can somehow tweak the damage output of lesser rarity weapons to where they're not just completely useless, I would up this score. Moving on once again, when it comes to the endgame content, unfortunately, a lot of the main bosses that you kill throughout the story do not respawn. And that's a real bummer because that's a lot of missed opportunities for dedicated loot farming and boss rushes. I'm sure they will fix this because it's been a pretty good outrage, and I don't think it would be that hard of a fix for a developer to make. When it comes to raid bosses, there is none right now. I haven't heard anything at least, but I hope that they will be added in the DLCs or even before that. Since the community has been begging for more in-game content like raid bosses and dedicated loot farms, I think it will happen. And soon, because this game is basically fan service for all of us die-hard Borderlands lovers. And I see them adding a bunch of stuff that we've been complaining about for years now. But as for now, like I said, there's not much in-game content. Luckily, all the side missions scale to you no matter what, so you can just always do side missions. But after you completed all of that, there's not really much left. Hopefully this will get fixed. I mean, honestly, if the big gripes we have about the game are that they just need to make a couple of adjustments and flesh out the game a little bit, I think we're in a pretty good state. Unlike how Borderlands 3 was so bad it couldn't be fixed, this game is quite the opposite. It's good and it will be better with some minor adjustments and some new additions. I see in-game becoming a huge part of this game, but as for now, as it stands, the in-game content, I give it a 5 out of 10. Now when it comes to categorizing this game, I will have the Borderlands games in this order from best to worst. Borderlands 2, Borderlands 1, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, the pre-sequel, and then Borderlands 3 in dead last. Huge gap in between 4 and 5. If they polish this game out to be its best possible state, I still don't see it being better than Borderlands 1 or 2, but surprising things has happened. As for now, this is where the game stands, and I'm very satisfied with this game, and I cannot wait for the DLC to come out. With as disappointed as I was with the third game, this is a nice breath of fresh air. One last thing I do want to mention, and I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and I'm liking games less and less, but this game just isn't as addicting as Borderlands 1 and 2 were for me. I don't know if it's because this game is not as good, or like I said, just because I'm getting older and getting desensitized by video games. I don't know. Borderlands 1 and 2 I could play for days on end. This one not so much. I don't know. It's a good game, but it's just like I don't know. Anyways, let me know if you guys feel the same way. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, help this channel grow. And like I said, after I move, my videos will become a lot more consistent and I will be able to put a lot more time into them. But for now, just deal with me and I will try my best to get out as much content as I possibly can. I love you all so much. Thank you for that support once again, and I'll see you all in that next video. Oh, and one last thing. If you want to see me shit on Borderlands 3, click here. And if you want to see other types of videos that I've done, click on one of these over here. And then here's another one just for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.